Okay, let's jump right in. Welcome to your deep dive.
Hello.
We're here today to unpack the source material you sent over specifically, that World Economic Forum report from April 2024, the one called The Future of Learning, How AI Can Enable Education 4.0.
That's the one. And our job really is to walk you through it. We'll be pulling out the key findings, the important numbers, the main arguments that this particular report puts forward.
Right, so you get a clear sense of how this source views AI and education coming together.
Exactly.
Now, the report kicks off by saying, look, technology's moving fast, education systems are kind of at a crossroads, they need to adapt,
hmm
and it brings up this idea of Education 4.0. What's that about exactly, according to the report?
Well, the report frames it as an approach focused on getting learners ready for the future.
hmm
The skills, attitudes, values they'll need for work and just, well, society.
Okay, and AI fits in how?
AI is positioned in the report as a tool, a potentially powerful one, it says, to help actually achieve that Education 4.0 vision.
Gotcha. And the report itself is structured, right? It gives us a path to follow.
Yeah, it does. First, it lays out the big challenges global education is facing right now. Then it explores how AI could help, how it might enable this Education 4.0.
Okay.
After that, it gives some real-world examples, case studies, essentially. And then finally, it talks about the risks and what needs to be in place for this to work well.
Right. And just to reiterate for you listening, we are sticking purely to what's in this report. No outside opinions. We're not taking sides, just presenting the information and insights from the source you provided.
Absolutely. Let's start where the report starts, then the challenges. It paints a picture of education systems facing some, well, pretty significant hurdles that make this whole AI conversation feel quite timely.
Okay, so what's the first big one the report flags?
The first one they really highlight is what they term the global teacher gap.
Teacher gap.
Yeah, UNESCO projects in the report cites this, that we're going to need an extra 44 million teachers globally by 2030.
44 million.
Yeah.
That's a staggering number.
It really is. Just to meet the basic sustainable development goal for quality education. And the report points out this gap is particularly bad in places like sub-Saharan Africa. They need about 15 million of those teachers.
Wow. And it's not just filling current spots, right? The demand is actually growing.
That's another key point in the report. It references the Future of Jobs report, which shows that with all the disruption in the job market, there's a huge need for reskilling and upskilling. And ironically, education roles themselves are projected to see some of the biggest increases in demand.
So we need more learning, more educators, but we're already short. Is attracting people to teaching part of the problem, according to the report?
It suggests it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It pulls OECD data showing that on average, lower secondary teacher salaries are about 10% lower than other tertiary educated workers. And in some countries, it's over 30% lower.
So financially, it's maybe not as competitive.
That seems to be the implication in the report, yes,
Yeah.
which makes attracting and retaining talent difficult.
Okay, so when the report brings AI into this context, it's not saying AI is the answer to the teacher shortage by replacing people.
No, not at all. That's really clear in the framing.
Yeah.
The report presents AI as an opportunity to support and augment the teachers we already have, potentially making the job more manageable or attractive.
Right. Support, not replace.
Exactly. They even mentioned a UK stat, quite striking actually, showing generative AI use among teachers jumped from 17% in April 2023 to 42% by November 2023.
Wow, a big jump in just a few months.
It suggests teachers are actively looking for tools to help them, manage the workload. Which brings us neatly to the second challenge the report digs into.
Which is the admin side of things.
Precisely. The report talks about significant administrative and assessment gaps.
Hmm?
Basically, teachers spending a lot of time on things that aren't directly teaching.
How much time are we talking?
Well, it cites figures like U.S. teachers averaging 54 hours a week, but only 46% of that time is actual teaching. Across OECD countries, the average is around 44% teaching time for lower secondary teachers.
So more than half their working week is not teaching.
That's what the data presented in the report suggests. Yeah. And it links this to teacher stress, citing an OECD survey, where nearly half of teachers reported admin burden as a major source of stress.
Okay, so the report's argument is that AI could potentially automate some of that.
That's the idea. Freeing up teachers for what the report calls higher value activities, more time engaging directly with students, customizing learning, maybe even professional development.
And assessment fits into this picture too. How?
And the report points out that traditional assessment methods are often, well, slow and clunky. Getting timely, useful data is hard.
You mean like waiting ages for test results?
Exactly. Or having big gaps between assessments. You've got school data, maybe national reviews sometimes, then international things like PISA only every 3 years. It makes it hard for the system to be agile, to make decisions based on up-to-date information.
And AI's potential role here is
Faster, more responsive assessment, according to the report. It can provide, say, real-time insights into how students are doing, maybe evaluate different kinds of assessments more efficiently, not just multiple choice. Basically, making assessment more useful for teachers, students, and policymakers.
Okay, so challenge 1, teacher gap. Challenge 2, admin and assessment overload. What's the third major one the report identifies?
The third one is the digital skills gap.
Ah, right. People not having the right tech skills.
Yeah. The report states generative AI could add huge economic value, but only if people know how to use the technology effectively. And right now it says there are significant shortages in digital skills and specific AI talent globally.
Is that about people who, like, build AI systems? Or just general users?
It seems to be both, based on the report. It mentions shortages in areas like deep learning and NLP are actually slowing down AI development itself. It cites a survey where 68% of executives reported moderate to extreme AI skills gaps in their companies.
Okay, so the high-end skills are missing.
Yes, but it also stresses the impact on everyone else. As AI automates more tasks, people without basic tech literacy are potentially most at risk of being left behind. So the report emphasizes a need for widespread reskilling and upskilling, learning how to use AI, understand it, apply it responsibly.
So education needs to teach about AI, not just use it as a tool.
That's a key message. Teaching about the technology and how it works, its implications, is presented as essential for future jobs, yes, but also for developing and using AI responsibly.
What kind of skills does it mention?
Things like ethical thinking around tech, being able to spot bias in data or algorithms, basic cybersecurity awareness, what the report calls future-ready skills.
Okay, that makes sense. So those are the 3 big challenges the report lays out: the teacher crunch, the admin drag, and this growing digital skills gap. Now, let's pivot to the solutions side. How does the report suggest AI can actually help tackle these and move towards that Education 4.0?
Right. So the report details 4 main ways it sees AI having potential. The first one directly addresses that teacher workload issue we talked about.
Supporting teachers.
Yes, supporting teachers' roles through augmentation and automation.
And does the report try to estimate how much impact that could have?
It does, yeah. It draws on some Weave Accenture research suggesting that maybe around 40% of the time teachers spend on various tasks could be impacted in some way by large language models.
40%. How does that break down?
Well, the report suggests routine, repetitive tasks, think clerical work, attendance, maybe basic data entry, have high automation potential. That could be up to 20% of a teacher's work time.
Wow, automating a fifth of their workload sounds pretty significant.
It could be.
Yeah.
Then there are tasks needing more analysis or problem solving, like lesson planning or evaluating student work. These, the report says, have high augmentation potential. AI could assist with these, maybe impacting another 8–20% of work time.
Augmentation meaning helping them do it better or faster.
Exactly. Helping them analyze data, perhaps suggesting resources, differentiating tasks. But crucially, the report notes that tasks involving deep interpersonal interaction, face-to-face teaching, social emotional support, talking with parents, those are seen as much less affected by AI.
So the vision is AI handles the routine stuff, helps with the planning and analysis, freeing up teachers for the more human-centric parts of the job.
That's precisely the emphasis in the report. It lists examples like AI helping compile reading lists, fact-checking, maybe doing initial grading on certain assignments, or augmenting tasks like analyzing class performance data or drafting differentiated materials. The goal, as presented, is more time for creativity and connection.
But it needs careful rollout and teacher training, presumably.
Oh, absolutely. The report stresses that careful design, proper training, making sure it actually helps.
Okay, so that's potential number 1, supporting teachers. What's the second area?
The second area is refining assessment and analytics. We touched on the problems with traditional assessment being slow. The report sees AI offering potential for, like, instant personalized feedback at scale, almost like a tutor giving immediate pointers.
So instead of waiting for grades, students get feedback right away.
That's the idea, helping them understand mistakes quickly and giving teachers faster insights into where students are struggling. The report mentions AI tools could even be trained by teachers to give feedback on things like essays, not just quizzes.
Interesting. Any other assessment angles?
Yeah, it also talks about things like AI-powered game-based assessments. These could potentially offer real-time feedback and analysis without the stress of high-stakes exams.
And all this generates more data.
Exactly. Which leads to the analytics part. The report argues AI analytics can give timely insights to everyone involved: students, teachers, parents, administrators, even policymakers.
For better decision making.
Right. Moving beyond just right-wrong answers to spot trends, predict potential difficulties, and adapt teaching strategies more effectively. Data-driven education, essentially.
Okay. Now, earlier you mentioned the report stressing the need to teach about AI. Is that the third potential area?
It is, yes. Potential number 3, supporting AI and digital literacy itself. And the report is clear. This isn't just about teaching kids which buttons to press.
It's broader than that.
Much broader. It includes critical thinking about technology, problem solving with digital tools, creativity, and importantly, ethical awareness.
So it's not aiming to make every kid an AI coder.
Not necessarily, no. The report suggests it's more about fostering awareness, curiosity, a basic understanding. Things like, how do you judge if an online source is reliable? How accurate is this AI-generated text? Critical consumption skills.
Which feels incredibly important right now.
Hugely important. The report even cites a study linking digital literacy to being better at spotting misinformation. And it explicitly mentions the large number of elections happening in 2024 as a reason why this is urgent, preparing students to navigate potential disinformation.
And preparing them to be responsible creators of tech in the future, too.
That too. Understanding bias, understanding data. And the report also loops in cybersecurity here.
How so?
Well, understanding basic cyber hygiene is crucial if we're building and relying on these complex AI systems, preventing data breaches, manipulation, that sort of thing. It mentions resources like IST's hands-on AI projects as examples of teaching these concepts practically. And notes governments like the UK are already looking into how best to teach about AI's limitations and biases.
Right. Okay, that covers 3 potentials. What's the fourth one the report highlights, often called the holy grail of EdTech?
Ah, yes, potential number 4. Personalizing learning content and experiences.
Personalized learning. How does the report see AI enabling that?
Well, it actually references Benjamin Bloom's famous Two Sigma problem study from way back.
The one about tutoring.
That's it. Bloom found that students who got one-on-one tutoring with Mastery Learning performed, on average, 2 standard deviations better than students in a standard classroom. That's like the average tutored student doing better than 98% of the others.
A massive difference. But obviously, you can't give every student a personal human tutor.
Exactly. It's just not scalable or affordable, especially with the teacher shortages we already discussed. And the report notes private tutoring exists, but it often increases inequality.
So AI steps in as a potential way to scale personalization.
That's the argument presented. The report points to older studies showing positive effects from tech-based personalization and argues that modern AI is much better equipped. It can analyze vast amounts of data about a student, their history, how they learn best, where they struggle, and then tailor the learning experience.
Tailor how? Like changing the difficulty.
Yeah, adjusting pace, difficulty level, suggesting specific resources, providing real-time feedback. It's about creating a more individual path for each learner, predicting challenges before they become roadblocks.
Matching materials to their needs.
Right. Aligning content with learning goals, but delivering it in a way that resonates with that specific student's strengths and weaknesses.
Does the report suggest AI does this instead of the teacher?
No, again, the emphasis is on complementing the teacher. The report is quite clear that AI tools work best alongside educators. Teachers bring the human element, nuance, cultural relevance, relating things to a student's life, providing that crucial encouragement and support. AI can't replicate that.
So AI handles the data analysis and content delivery. The teacher handles the human connection and deeper understanding.
That seems to be the model envisioned. And the report also highlights AI's ability to present information in different ways: visual, audio, interactive, which is great for accessibility, helping neurodiverse students or those with disabilities, like providing automatic captioning.
Okay, so AI supports the teacher in making personalization more achievable.
That's the perspective offered in this report.
So the report lays out these potential benefits. Does it also give concrete examples of where this is actually happening?
It does. Chapter 3 is all about emerging examples, case studies. They selected these based on criteria like significance, measurable impact, scalability, sustainability, and importantly, a focus on equity. They gathered 9 examples from around the world.
9 case studies. Maybe you could highlight a couple for us. Show the range.
Sure. One example is UNICEF's Accessible Digital Textbooks, or ADT. This uses principles of universal design for learning and tech to make textbooks accessible for learners with disabilities. AI comes in to help create and scale these accessible features cost-effectively.
What kind of features are we talking about?
Things like built-in narration, sign language videos for deaf students, audio descriptions of images for visually impaired students, text-to-speech, real customization. And it can work offline too. The report mentioned a goal of reaching 500,000 kids in early 2024. The aim is boosting engagement for students often left behind by standard materials.
That sounds incredibly impactful, directly addressing an equity issue. What's another example?
Okay. Another one is Kabaku Academies in West Africa. They focus on upskilling youth, often for the informal job sector. They use an AI virtual mentor accessible 24/7 via WhatsApp, actually. Students can even send selfie videos explaining their project, and the AI gives feedback.
Via WhatsApp. That's interesting.
Yeah, very accessible. They're also working on AI for training in local languages like Bambara and Mali. And the report cites some impressive results from a trial. A 23% jump in growth mindset and a 44% income increase 6 months after completing the program.
Wow, those are tangible outcomes.
Absolutely. Then there's Letras in Brazil. This is an AI platform focused on improving literacy reading and writing for middle and high schoolers. It uses their own NLP AI to give students real-time feedback as they write.
Instant feedback on writing.
Yes. And it also provides analytics for teachers and administrators. The report highlights a case in one Brazilian state, Espírito Santo, where schools using Letras saw students jump from 8th place to 2nd place nationally in writing exams within just 5 months. The state actually became the top performer nationally, showing huge improvement compared to the average.
That's a dramatic improvement. One more, maybe.
Let's look at CEBL in Uruguay. They have a program teaching computational thinking and AI concepts across different subjects. A big focus is on ethical production and critical consumption of AI, understanding machine learning, data bias, things like that. They also actively work to close the gender gap in tech.
And the impact.
The report says students in the program significantly outperform their peers on computational thinking tests. And interestingly, the gap favors girls in the program. It's been successful enough that computational thinking is now being integrated into Uruguay's national education reforms.
So these examples from the report really show AI being applied in diverse ways. Accessibility, skills training, core literacy, critical thinking about AI itself.
Exactly. And the report mentions others too, briefly, like cybersecurity training in Australia, STEM for girls in Nigeria, AI for entrepreneurship in Europe, national AI textbook plans in South Korea, AI tutors in the UAE. It paints a picture of broad experimentation.
Okay, so we have the challenges, the potential AI solutions according to the report, and these real-world examples. But there's always a but, right?
Yeah.
What about the risks? Does the report address the potential downsides of rolling out AI in education?
Oh yes, it dedicates significant space to that. It acknowledges the promise, but stresses that rushing into generative AI without careful planning, safety measures, governance, and a focus on equity is risky.
What are the main risks it flags?
Well, public trust is a big one. It cites a 2023 survey showing many people are still wary of AI systems, concerned about risks.
Understandable.
Then there's data privacy and security. Hugely important when you're dealing with student data. AI tools collect information, so how is it protected? How is consent managed? The report mentions a survey where very few firms actually had policies for generative AI use, and many IT pros were worried about misuse.
And the impact on teachers' jobs, that always comes up.
It does. The report acknowledges concerns about job disruption, but strongly reiterates the view that teachers should remain central, complemented by AI, not replaced. But it emphasizes this requires serious investment in reskilling and upskilling teachers.
What about fairness? Could AI make inequality worse?
That's flagged as a major risk. If the benefits of AI tools mostly go to well-resourced schools or regions, it could definitely widen existing educational gaps. The report points out, look, 2.6 billion people don't even have internet access, so equity has to be baked in from the start.
The report also mentioned a risk of not using AI or not engaging with it.
Yes, the risk of inaction. The argument is that education systems have to engage with AI literacy. Because synthetic media, deepfakes, AI-generated text, they can all be used for misinformation. Students, especially younger ones, need the skills to navigate this landscape critically.
So ignoring it isn't really an option.
According to this report, no. The key takeaway seems to be finding the right balance, harnessing the potential while actively managing the risks through collaboration between human expertise and AI capabilities.
Okay, so to manage those risks and make this work, what does the report say needs to happen? What are the conditions for success?
The conclusion lays out 5 key conditions.
Yeah.
First, development needs to happen with educators and leaders. The tools need to actually solve real problems and fit into the school context.
Co-creation, essentially.
Exactly. Second, rock-solid data privacy and security protocols are essential. Ethical data use, consent, anonymization, collecting only necessary data, all critical.
Privacy by design.
Yes. Third, funding. Not just one-off grants, but sustainable funding models for ongoing development, testing, and independent evaluation to make sure these tools are actually effective and safe over time.
Continuous improvement. Got it.
Fourth, training. Comprehensive training and upskilling for students, teachers, and administrators. Everyone needs to know how to use these tools effectively and responsibly.
Invest in the people, not just the tech.
Precisely. And fifth, equity and inclusion have to be central right from the beginning. Designing systems and rollouts to ensure everyone benefits, everyone gains AI literacy, actively working against widening disparities.
Okay, so we've really dug into this World Economic Forum report you shared. We've covered the challenges it outlines for education, the 4 big ways it sees AI potentially helping supporting teachers, refining assessment, building digital literacy, personalizing learning. We looked at those case studies
Real-world examples.
and then explored the risks the report acknowledges, and finally, those 5 conditions it lays out for doing this right.
It definitely provides a structured perspective from this source on how AI and education might evolve together.
So having gone through all that from the report, for you listening, what's the one thing that really stands out? What's the key takeaway you're mulling over now?
And here's a final thought, building on the report's themes. It highlights both an urgent need for change in education and significant risks with AI. So what do you think is the absolute most critical first step needed right now to ensure AI actually benefits all learners and prepares them for this future where humans and AI will inevitably coexist?
Definitely something to think about. Thanks again for sharing your sources for this deep dive.
If you would like to read more about AI and education, you may want to subscribe to this channel to stay updated on the latest about AI.